Imagine a radio station that plays jazz, reggae, rock, techno dance, blues, heavy metal, and more. Well, there is one.
What's up? It's Mike D, Beastie Boys. Pretty special day, KSYM San Antonio. Check it out.
Well, you know, I left here in '64 to go down to San Antonio College and start a radio TV department, which grew to be quite a large thing.
I think that KSYM is the first educational FM station licensed to a junior college. We called them junior colleges in 1964. She came here because there was one radio course, and the guy who taught it let his students play a Beatles record, and the president of the college heard the Beatles record and went berserk and fired the instructor. So Jean came here, and she was very anxious about what music would be played on the little student station. So we couldn't play anything that even approached rock and roll.
Oh, I've been here when Miss Longworth was teaching many years ago. She was a real nice teacher.
I think I have intuition when it comes to picking out the stars.
She wasn't particularly impressed with gals who really cared about whether their shoes matched their purse.
Jean Longworth, she was in charge of the radio. She was the John Underdunk of back then. Somebody who really gave me my start in radio, and to this day I would credit this lady with everything.
You could hear KSYM, Chris. We were a 500 watt mono station back then, just doing a lot of reel-to-reel work because the studio and everything was in McCreeless Hall.
There was a TV studio, and they were holding class in there, and then there was a studio window, and on the other side of the window was the KSYM studios, and then down 3 or 4 steps and around the corner was the closed circuit station WSAC.
I was a student here at San Antonio College in the film department, and I remember walking down a hallway and looking into a small, what looked like a closet, and I said, well, what is that room right there? And it had a bunch of equipment in there, a bunch of technical stuff, and I had no idea what it was, and somebody said, well, that's KSYM radio. And it was literally in a room the size of a closet, and it had so much equipment that I just knew that I needed to be in there because it looked like fun. So
I happened to walk by the radio station. I peeked in, and I saw, wait a minute, they got a control board in there and stuff. What is that? What's the college station? I said, no. So what was it? Just is it for fun? He said, no, you can actually get a degree. I had no idea, and I remember calling my dad. I'm going to change my major. My dad thought I was going to be an architect or a commercial artist, and so I said, I really want to do this, and he says, that's okay. So I changed my major, made art my minor, and the rest is pretty much history.
But I remember the first time I walked into the old buildings across the street, I said, oh my God, we're supposed to get a degree for this place? I was pretty close to being discouraged from pursuing it because of the lack of facilities over there across the street. Everything was a closet. I remember KSYM, you're in that little closet spinning records. Image is everything.
I took over KSYM in 1992 as the general manager and the faculty advisor. I took over from Fred Weiss, who left to create the music business program here at San Antonio College. You know what I have really enjoyed about KSYM is the people that I've got to meet, people that I got to work with, not just the community people who've been here for a long time, but also all the students that have come through over the years. It's been great working with them. Oh yeah, there have been international students, German students, French students, students who did shows in Spanish. All sorts of people have come through to do programs, and that's been great. It's part of what makes this your only alternative.
I first became aware of KSYM in high school. I went to James Madison High School, way out on the northeast side of San Antonio. I remember there was a local emerging sounds, and that was what first started drawing me to KSYM and college radio. This would be probably around early '92.
I've known about KSYM for quite a while. I grew up in San Antonio, and I think one of the first things I remember was the Beatles show on Sunday mornings, and I used to tune into that. And then, every so often, later at night when I was driving around in high school, I'd tune into the station.
It had to be late 90s, 97 or so. I was listening to the late night, the punk, the college music. And then I got into the Third Coast, and that was really what opened my mind to the Texas music.
Waco Brothers, and that's a song that you will not hear on any other station in San Antonio, and I know that for a fact.
Third Coast Music Network is a roots radio show that plays Cajun, Zydeco, blues, real country, alt country, gospel, New Orleans music, singing songwriters, rockabilly, just a full course of American and not always American roots music.
I first heard of KSYM when I was taking a class. It was my first semester. It was fall of '07. And I saw the call letters on the sign of the building, but I really didn't know, I knew it was a radio station, but I was just like, why is that here? I didn't know there was a radio station until like a couple weeks in the building. And Joey Palacios, now he's a reporter over at TPR, he was actually in the radio class, and I was like, wait, there's a radio class? What are you talking about? And then I found out there was a radio station here, so I started coming up here and hung out.
I've been to South by Southwest so many times where if you wear a Third Coast shirt or a KSYM shirt, it's really interesting when you have people from all over the world. If you're at a show and they're like, hey, Third Coast or KSYM, something like that. So that's always great. And obviously, people just love the station.
I moved to Texas in January of 1996, and I was searching the left side of the dial, which I was accustomed to listening to back in New York City. All the public stations or college stations, specifically jazz, and I found 90.1 and Saturday Mornings and Bobby J and Rocky and a bunch of other folks, and I said, wow, that would be great to be associated with KSYM, with the radio station doing jazz someday.
Help me get out of my mama's house. Help me get a job.
Yes, help college kids here get a job. Support KSYM.
Tonight, Michael joining 9 o'clock news photographer Gary Chavez behind the microphone at KSYM Radio.
The students at San Antonio College invited me to be a guest DJ today at KSYM, playing music and asking for pledges to upgrade the station. And trust me, they need some new equipment. This stuff is headed for the Radio Museum very soon.
Pledge Drive started in 1994. What happened was we had an old transmitter, and that transmitter kept going down week after week. It would be down for so many days that we were really in danger of losing our license. And so what we did is we went to the dean at the time, Dean Butch Hayes, and said, we need some money for a new transmitter or we're liable to lose our license. And he gave us the money for the transmitter, which at that time was about $20,000. And then he said, essentially, that's it. Here's your transmitter, get your own money. And that was in February of 1994. And in March of that year, we had our first pledge drive. I think we raised $6,000. Some of the money that we raised at that time went to buy computers. So since 1994, the pledge drive has averaged, up until this year, we've raised over $1.25 million.
So this is our KSYM DJ, Joseph Garza. What do you think the power increase will mean, Joseph?
Well, I think it'll mean that your girlfriend can actually listen, because she lives way out past near Treaty 1 in 1604, and she can barely pick it up over there. I mean, there's a lot of static, so I think it'll broaden the range that KSYM has.
Pledge Drive has come a long way from the first time when I started doing it. Back when we were in the old building, we had to sit down in a small stuffy room and handwrite all the pledges that came in. And I remember at the time, desktop computers were emerging and everywhere, and asking, why don't we use a computer to take down the pledges? And I remember Onderdonk and other people were like, that's never going to happen, man. That's never going to happen. We're going to always take it down like that. And so, of course, and I think that says a lot about how KSYM is a valuable resource to San Antonio. It's insurance that you're going to hear the music that you want to hear on KSYM.
So it's every year I always call it, our pledge drive to me is just an annual love fest. Our listeners show up here, they support us, but they just want to let us know how much they love what we're doing, and it's really our only time of the year that we get to kind of tell them that, we can't say we love our businesses and we love our people as much as we do. So yeah.
All the equipment, all the furniture, everything in the KSYM studios has been purchased with Pledge Drive money.
I'm very proud that KSYM is not only active on the dial, but active in the community as well.
Yeah, Bobby Johnson, host of the Mainstream 120.
Favorite DJ? Well, I've got many favorites, but hands down, my favorite is Bobby J. He's like my guru.
I give kudos to Bobby J. Bobby J's done a great job here, and he's been on my heels for the past 30 years, or 27 years, so he's the guy that keeps me going, Bobby J.
I have many different names. He's Bobby Cornelius Johnson. Not too many people know that he actually has a doctorate in vinology.
I call him the mayor of Midtown just because he just seems like he's always pretty much elected royalty.
Well, Joe's the governor of Midtown. He calls me the mayor, he's the governor.
I'm not the first one to call it jazz school. So if you've ever been to Bobby's house, it's like a throwback into 50s drinking culture.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. There are a lot of guys who have done really good shows. Charlie does a good job. Of course, Brian with the Casbah does a great show.
Hello, this is Dan Rather. You're listening to KSYM San Antonio, your only alternative.
These are chains. I actually think it's kind of like a date with Cindy Crawford or something. You always hear Cindy Crawford say, well, nobody ever calls me. Well, we called Willie.
He called, and Willie Nelson said yes.
I dreamed of love and I was given you.
One of the country's oldest community college radio stations plays host to one of country music's oldest and most popular entertainers.
The bus, the hat, the braids. Trademark Willie Nelson, who fans worship.
All my music has come from you.
Now he has new music. That's what brought him to KSYM Radio at San Antonio College. The redheaded stranger performed for KSYM's Third Coast Network to the delight of more of his fans.
Outside the studio, he's no redheaded stranger to these Willie fans. He visits for a few minutes, signs autographs, and jumps back on his infamous bus. Aboard the Honeysuckle Rose 3, he's on the road again.
The impact to the community, I think, is your byproduct, which is all the broadcasters like Fred Lozano, who recently just passed away. Fred came through your program here and picked up his first sense of broadcasting here. Another guy, Sonny Melendrez, who made it to Los Angeles and was a big DJ in LA and worked with a lot of big people like Stallone. And so you have given the base knowledge for a lot of people who've gotten into radio, television, print, and not only have been local and regional, but national.
Got a new album or something, is to get it to the people, and the best way to do that is by radio. And the quickest way to do it is to run over and play it for them if they'll let you.
Whatever the child says.
Happy birthday, 50 years.
Happy birthday, KSYM, 50 years, 50 more years.
Happy birthday, KSYM, 50 more years.
50 años.
Surfing on the low end of the dial, on the left-hand side, that's not a joke. Happy birthday to you.
I've never said this before, but KSYM and I have the same birthday, September the 15th, but I'm a little bit older than the station, but happy birthday, KSYM.
When mouse laughs at cat, there's a hole nearby. Now don't touch that dial. Let the music begin. You'll hear the best on KSYM.
Well, you have to expect things to change. You know they're not going to stay the same. You just hope that they change for the better. I hope so. I hope they do. I'd like to think that those traditions go on and on. You know, you have to hope that. And I see no reason why it would change too drastically. But you're right, it certainly has had a great appeal to many people.